What's up, y'all? It's your boy Tevin Jameer back at it again with another episode of the Hate It or Love It podcast. And as y'all can see in the title, this is the last episode of the year, y'all. And I know this is kind of weird. I'm releasing this episode on a Friday, and I usually upload on Tuesdays, but I'm going to get into why I haven't been uploading episodes these past 2 weeks. But the reason I'm not uploading an episode on Tuesday, but on Friday, unlike I usually do, is because since this is the end of the year episode, I wanted it to be as close to the end of the year as possible. And I didn't want to, upload it on Saturday or on New Year's Eve because I know people be busy those days. So I just thought maybe I can upload this on Friday and, just talk about everything that I want to talk about for this year. So, of course, with this being the end of the year episode, I want to go over my favorite songs of the year, my favorite albums that were released this year, my favorite films, and of course, because you guys can see that this is an audio only episode, and that's because right now, if you look on your screen, I have 10 pictures from this year. I like to do like an end of year post on my social medias every year, and you can see this end of the year photo where I usually pick like 10 different photos, and I determine the photos that I'm going to use in these pictures by like special moments, or if I'm with people that I care about, or, stuff like that. So I'm going to be going over the photo. If you're looking at this on streaming services, it's the cover. I mean, I know the title is covering some of the photos, but I'll still explain the ones that the title is covering. And if you're watching this on YouTube, then you guys will see the photo, on the side of the screen. But either way, I'll be going over the photo and the 10 pictures and like the memories behind them. And then after that, I will be going over my goals for next year. And hopefully, if I'm still doing the podcast by next year, I can look back at this, episode and see if I fulfilled those goals at the end of next year. So enough talking, man. Let's get into it. But before we really get into it, I do have to explain why I haven't been uploading episodes these past 2 to 3 weeks. And part of it is because I had 2 special episodes planned. They were supposed to be group episodes, and due to it being special episodes and I want to keep them, surprising for y'all, I'm not going to say who I had on the episodes, but it was 2 different groups of people. And in both groups, one person was always busy. And I kept trying to work with them, seeing if we can move it around. But hey, we adults, everybody got their lives going on. Everybody's busy. So I just postponed the episodes to a completely other time, and all I'll say is I would still like those episodes to happen. I'm pretty sure that at least one of the people that I had in the groups listens to my podcast. So if you're listening to this, I still want to do the episode, but just message me and we can work on probably setting it up another time. But yeah, both groups had completely different people in both of them, but it was always at least one person that was too busy. So like I said, that one person out of the first group and the second group, you guys can message me. We can see what we can do, and we can try to set up other times to do those episodes. So, okay, besides that, as I told y'all before, this was my last semester of university. So I was really trying to, be on top of my finals and stuff like that. So, I wanted to take time to do really good on my finals, especially since this is going to be my last semester in college. So I really wanted to do good on that. And besides that, I guess the only other thing, and this wasn't too big of a factor, it was disappointing, but it wasn't disappointing enough for me to halt, doing episodes. But I guess you could say this played a little bit of a role, is that the girlfriend that I mentioned in the past few episodes, um, we broke up. I will say this, if she is listening, I will say this. She wasn't a bad girlfriend or anything like that. I just feel like there was things that we couldn't agree on. And I don't know how she feels about me. I mean, I still care about her. I hope that maybe one day when things change, we can probably pick back up where we left off at, but she wasn't a bad girl by any means. It just, I feel like the timing just wasn't right for us. So the door is open if she is willing to do that, but if not, then I don't really know what else to say about it. But you know, like I said, I still have a lot of care for her. I don't know how she feels about me because I was the one to initiate the breakup. So I don't know how she feels about me, but if she's listening, you know, I just want to let her know that I still care about her. And like I said, things change in the future. We can see, maybe we can see what we can do about that. But that's about it for now. So that's pretty much why I haven't been uploading for the past 2-3 weeks. It's those three reasons. But I'm here now. It's better late than never. So let's get it. The end of the year episode. And if I had to describe my overall year for 2022, I ain't gonna lie. And I'm going to say this real quick. The decade, like the 2020s decade, was not a good decade for me. Like, or not like the whole decade is done, but like so far, the decade has not been good for me. Like, it was horrible in 2020, especially for everybody, since, as my cousin's aunt like to call it, the Chronos done hit the world. So that was already a bad thing. I was in a bad situation with one of my exes in 2020 to 2021. So that was already a bad thing. A lot of experiences with different people that makes me feel like I don't really trust a lot of people. I was diagnosed with depression, not really having the best time of my life in the first years of 2020 or the 2020s decade. But when 2022 came around, I was like, all right, 2020 and 2021 was not good at all. Maybe 2022 will turn things around. And you want to know how I started out the damn year? By having Chronos. You guys know what I mean when I say that, but I had Chronos, just like my parents also had Chronos. So for the first 2 weeks of the year, I had Chronos. And I mean, the only enjoyable thing about that is like I stayed home from work and I was catching up on a lot of shows and movies that I missed around that time due to finals at that time. So I was like, okay, well, I mean, if I'm just going to be sitting home all day, might as well keep myself busy, watch movies, play video games, like stuff like that. And yeah, so that was a great way to start the year. But after that, I would say 2022 was a decent year. There was moments where things wasn't all good, and there was a lot of moments where things were good. So 2022, I will say, was a very good year. Or I won't say good. It was, if I had to rate this year out of 10, probably give it like a 5, maybe 5.5, maybe 6, like around that range. Like, it wasn't amazing, but it wasn't horrible. But I guess this year seems really good compared to the last few years I had. So maybe that's why I'm looking at it so fondly. But there was a lot of good things that came out of this year. Like, I got into an honor society at my school. I'm a lifelong Tau Sigma member. So that's a good thing. Besides that, like I said, this is my last year of this was my last semester of university. So I'm officially done school. And, like I said, I'm not going to get into too many of the memories until that point in the episode. But yeah, this year had a lot of decent moments. But before we get to those moments, I want to talk about, my tops of the year. So first thing is my top 3 songs of the year. Now, for the past few weeks, I know everybody's been putting up their Spotify or Apple Music Wrapped or replays, and I put mine up on my social media, but I'm someone, I don't really listen to a lot of newer music. Like, I like to listen to a lot of older music. And the only time I'll really check out a newer album or whatever is if it's like a really big artist that I care about. Like when Kendrick dropped Mr. Morale, I went to go listen to that. When Chris Brown dropped Breezy, I went to go listen to that. Drake, when he dropped Honestly Nevermind, and when he dropped Her Loss, I listened to those. Beyonce, Renaissance, I went to go listen to that. So if it's like one of those big artists that I really like a lot, or not even if they're just big, but if they're an artist that I really like a lot, like the past few months, I really got into Rod Wave's music. And so I listened to his most recent album. I forget exactly what it's called. I forget exactly what the album is called, but yeah, I want to go listen to that as well. So yeah, like whether they're big or small or moderate, just as long as I really like them a lot, that's when I listen to them. But with that being said, a lot of my most played songs and albums of the year were a lot of older songs and albums. So what I did is I went through my stats and I only picked apart the 2022 results. So for my top three songs of the year, now realistically, only one song was in my actual top three. The other two songs were like songs from 2019 and 2018. So that's what I mean. Like I went through my stats and I only picked apart the 2022 stuff. So for my top three songs of 2022, songs that did come out this year that I really liked a lot. At number three, I have Corday's Chronicles from his From a Bird's Eye View album. Now, like I said, Corday, or like I said before, if it's an artist I really rock with, then I'm gonna check it out right out the gate. And Corday is an artist that I really rock with a lot. I like his lyrical style and stuff like that. And while I do feel like there is moments where people overhype him, like when people call him the new J. Cole and stuff like that, I do think he is a really good rapper. But I feel like he needs to get away from the comparisons. Like he needs to come up with something that will keep him separate, like stop people from comparing him to like other greats and stuff. He needs to, separate himself from that. But for the most part, Corday really is a great artist. So, of course, when he dropped this album, I was really excited for it. And I ain't gonna lie, the album was not that good to me. It was definitely a step down from his first album, Lost Boy. Because with Lost Boy, sometimes I'll go back and I listen to that whole album from start to finish. But with this album, I think I only pulled out like 3 or 4 songs that I go back to listen to a lot. And of course, that's why Chronicles is here. Chronicles is the number one song that I go back to listen to from this album. And I really like it because it has that R&B feel, which if you guys heard me talk about music before on this podcast, I always say that R&B is my favorite genre. So it gave a very nice R&B feel. I felt like it was a weird combination to have Corday, her, and Lil Durk on a song together, but somehow the song works. So I like the vibe of it. Lil Durk surprisingly fit on this song, which I'm very surprised because, like, if you know Lil Durk's, music compared to her and Corday's, yeah, I don't know how that match turned out to be so well, but it really was. My second song of the year is Savior by Kendrick Lamar and Baby Keem, and I forget the other person. But as I stated on the episode with Corey, Savior is like, a really good song. It's like, that's the one thing I really like Kendrick. Like, he'll give you bangers with meaning. And like, Kendrick's album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, there was a lot of meaning in that album. So I like the message behind Savior, but I also like how it's like a song that you can like have fun to, as well. Same with my number one pick, Die Hard from Kendrick Lamar. Die Hard was a really good song to me because, like I said, it somewhat had like an R&B feel. it was like one of the love songs on the album. But I think the number one thing that made it my most replayed song is the fact that is like what I said the episode with Corey. I feel like this song had one of Kendrick's best verses on the album, or just in his whole career. Like, I feel like the second verse of Die Hard is like genuine poetry. Like, when I listen to Die Hard, if you listen to Kendrick's second verse on the song, this like the song sounds beautiful to me, and the words that he's saying, I really resonate with it. So I like the vibe of the song. I like the singing from Blast and the other girl, or the girl from the song. And Kendrick's verses just really bring it home for me. Now, the funny thing is, these are my top 3 most played songs, at least that was released in 2022. But the funny thing is, my favorite song from Mr. Morale is Rich Spirit. Like, that's my favorite song from the album. So it is weird how, like, you can have a favorite and then you might not listen to it as much. It's almost like this one picture that I saw where it was like friendships, like your best friend isn't measured by how much you hang out with the person. It's more measured by the feeling you get with that person. That's how I view, this song ranking. Because while I listen to Die Hard, Savior, and Chronicles more than Rich Spirit, I like Rich Spirit the most out of all of them. So that is an interesting thing to see. The next thing is my top 3 albums of the year. Now, I did the same thing just like I did with the songs. I only picked apart, what was released in 2022. So, my third pick is Renaissance from Beyonce. I'm a big Beyonce fan. Like, I really love Beyonce's music. When I hear the debate between Rihanna and Beyonce, I pick Beyonce all fucking day. I love Beyonce's music. And Renaissance, I really like the album, but I will say that when it comes to Renaissance, I think the thing with it is I like it, but it's not as good to me as other Beyonce albums because I didn't feel much of a story or of a concept with it. It seems like the concept of the album was more the vibe that she was going for, like the dance type vibe and whatever. Where if you listen to albums like Lemonade, you deal with cheating, you deal with family lessons that Beyonce had in her life and stuff like that. Even with Beyonce, the self-titled album, you still get stuff out of that. Hell, even Everything Is Love with her and Jay-Z, I felt more of a concept out of that. But this album, that's how the music was really good. Because even if I don't feel too much of a concept, the music really put it up there to where this is my third album of the year. So, yeah. While I'll say, like, in terms of Beyonce albums rankings, this would probably be in the middle or probably the lower of her discography. It does show that this is really good if I can still put this in my top 3 of a year in terms of music. Number 2 is Dawn FM from The Weeknd. I like the concept of the album. I like the vibe of the album, and a lot of people was criticizing the album, but I walked away with a lot of songs that I really like from this album. Out of Time is like one of the big contributions of why this album is so high on the list, because Out of Time is like a song where Out of Time is like one of those songs where I feel like Out of Time is like a masterpiece of a song. Like, in terms of, if I was to do a song ranking for The Weeknd, Out of Time would easily be like top 3 Weeknd songs, because like that song is just perfect to me. The vocals from The Weeknd, the beat, like, it just feels like a very nostalgic, nice feeling type of song. Even though he's obviously singing about, a girl that he's about to lose, it still sounded like an amazing song. So that other songs on the album that I really like was Best Friend. I was banging that like crazy. Even Best Friend is like a song where the hook is like stuck in my head forever. Like, the whole year, Best Friend just randomly pops in my head. and I don't even listen to the song too much like that recently, but like the hook will still be banging in my head. Um, Dang, I forget the name of the other song that I really liked on there. I like the one with Lil Wayne on it. I think Lil Wayne's song is "I Heard You're Married Now." That was another one that I really liked. I think there was also one with Tyler the Creator as well. But Dawn FM was, I feel like a really great album. I also like the concept and the story of it. So, you know, it, even though I don't really go back to the album for its concept and the story, I still like it a lot. But the songs on there are great, and to me, some of those songs are the best that The Weeknd ever put out. So, check that album out if you haven't yet. And my number one album, which I don't think this is a surprise if you've been listening to my podcast, is Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. If you want a longer explanation of why this is my favorite album of the year, go back and listen to the episode with DZ. I think there's a specific part where I bring up the album and we start talking about it. Also go back to the episode with Corey. That's mostly where I say all the reasons I like the album. But if I had to sum it up real quick, I feel like Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, Kendrick does the thing that I always love that he does, where he can make a song that sounds like a banger, but it actually has meaning to it. But I also feel like Mr. Morale was a great album to me and easily the best album of the year to me because Kendrick, while he didn't do anything experimental with his sound, he was definitely pushing boundaries with the things that he was talking about. Like he was rapping about a lot of things that other rappers would probably be too scared to rap about. Like Auntie Diaries, how he touches on transgender people. Um, Father Time, where he talks about how his dad's teachings affected him as a man and stuff like that. Um, we Cry Together. People laugh at the song and make memes about it, but I feel like it is a very important song because it does show how toxic and bad a lot of relationships are nowadays, where people just rather argue until they have sex and still instead of trying to figure out like the issues within their relationships. Um but I think the biggest reason is that we really get a look into Kendrick Lamar's mind. Like I've been saying in the episode with DZ and Corey, um, I feel like every album from Kendrick, we do see Kendrick's personality. We see Kendrick's, thoughts and stuff like that. But I feel like Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is like it's like a album where we really get into Kendrick's mental state, his psyche. It's basically the album is somewhat formed like a therapy session. So I feel like this is the most we've ever seen Kendrick open up his mind to his listeners. And also the album did have a lot of messages and lessons that I really liked a lot, especially like I said with the song Savior. That song was basically him bringing up about how you may look up to, public figures, but they're not your saviors. And I like how Kendrick throughout the album basically shows like I'm a lot of people's role models, but they should strive to be better than me. And that's something that I really like because I'm someone that I really like Kendrick Lamar a lot. In the past, I have looked up to him. I have said that I want a career like his, not just music wise, but I mean like how he moves and stuff like that. But to hear that he basically like, I can be your role model, but don't look to me to be your savior. Like, you can look up to me, but don't be me because I have my own issues too. I feel like that's a message that a lot of people really wouldn't touch on like that. So, you know, big shout out to Kendrick. I highly doubt he is ever going to hear my podcast, but Kendrick, just know that I don't care what anybody's saying about Mr. Morale. Mr. Morale is probably my third favorite album from Kendrick if I had to rank them. But don't take my word on that right away because, I have to sit down and really think about it. But Mr. Morale, I feel like is a very slept on album. I feel like it's very overhated. But I feel like it's one of those projects where people are going to talk shit about it now. But I feel like over time, people will grow appreciation for it. So, Kendrick, everybody else might not be riding for you, but I got you. I got you. Just know I stayed down since day one, homie. um, so that's about it as far as like music and stuff like that. So let's get on to like, other entertainment stuff. I can't say that I have a top three, TV shows of the year. If I had to say top three off the top of my head, I guess I'm gonna say Euphoria as a number three. A lot of people hated Euphoria season two, but personally to me, I love Euphoria season two. I actually like it more than Euphoria season one. And a lot of the issues that people was having with Euphoria season two, some of them doesn't really make sense to me because I think my biggest problem is like the problem with people's criticisms is that some of the same issues that they pointed out with season two are also same issues that were found in season one of Euphoria. Like one of the criticisms I heard was how they dropped storylines in season two of Euphoria, like, Rue and the drug dealer. But if you literally watch season one, they dropped the plot line of how Nate literally framed somebody saying that they, or I'll take that out. But saying how they are worded Alexa Demi's character, and even the police at the end of the season said this doesn't feel right, and that's never addressed once in season two. So that's an example at the top of my head, but for people criticizing season two over stuff like that, it's like you guys need to rewatch season one before you start talking work about season two. I think the other criticism I saw that I don't really agree with is how people didn't like that they killed Ash's character, saying that he was a very important character to the show. No, the fuck he wasn't. Season one, all he did was crack jokes. That was about it. Season two, all he did was come at anybody crazy that messed with Fez. He did not have much of a character. He did not have much of a story. He was literally just there to be an emotional piece for Fez. That's all he ever was. If you take him out, Fez would have not that much emotion to his character. That's the only reason Ash was there, to be an emotional standpoint for Fez. Like, he was not that much of a character. He was only there to serve Fez's story. He did not have a story himself. So I hate when people say that Ash was a character that shouldn't have died. Well, what the fuck was the point of his character besides just being, Fez's emotional, thing? What was the point then? Because he did not have much of a character. But besides that, season two of Euphoria was a great season to me. And I'm really looking forward to season three. But I will say this. The season two finale, there were decisions made that I really don't agree with. But for the most part, I loved season two better than I love season one. So, Euphoria, easily number three. Number two, I would probably give it to Power Book 4 Force. As y'all know, if you're Power fans, that's Tommy's spinoff. The reason I believe that book four could have been the best spinoff, but there was just certain aspects where I feel like, they could have done better. Now, from me watching the Crew Has It podcast, apparently season two is going to be like crazy compared to season one. Apparently, they changed showrunners and stuff like that. So season two probably has the potential to boost it up to be my favorite Power spinoff. But, there were just certain aspects of book four that holds it back from being my favorite. But I will say that book four is really good. I love seeing Tommy. I love seeing him in Chicago. I would say out of all the spinoffs, this I would say has my overall favorite cast of characters. Um Actually, I'll say it rivals Raising Kanan. Like in terms of cast of characters, this rivals Raising Kanan, but I guess I'll say the one upper hand this has over Raising Kanan, and this isn't even a bad thing, is that there is a lot more outright action with this show. Because we know Tommy is a crazy guy that's gonna get into action, like, the show doesn't waste any time with the killing and the violence that we know to love from Power. So, you know. Book 4, I'll say, is really good. Has its flaws, little flaws, but you know, book 4 is really good. And then number 1, I mean, if you've been listening to the podcast, you already know. Number 1 is book 3, Raising Kanan. Out of all the Power spinoffs, this has been my favorite spinoff just because, well, for one, Kanan has always been my favorite character from Power. And one thing that I like in the original Power is how they touched on how lonely of a character Kanan is. And what I like is Kanan is known as like a ruthless, smart guy and whatever. But before his character died in the original Power, spoiler alert if you haven't watched it, but before his character died in the original Power, they were talking about how he was lonely, how he had nobody in his life. And it showed how Tariq was really the only character that really cared about him and stuff like that. So when I heard that they were doing a prequel based on him, I really like the idea of that because not only do we see like, Kanan seemed like a pretty innocent kid. Not only do we see how an innocent kid turned into like the ruthless, crazy motherfucker that we know from the original Power, but we see how his life kind of goes downhill, with him wanting to be at the top of the drug game. You watch Raising Kanan, you see he's surrounded by his mom, his uncles, his cousin Jukebox, all his friends. But then you really start to think, like, damn, when you think on the original Power, he literally had nobody. Like, even when he was working with Jukebox, we saw how, yeah, they had, that family care for each other, but it was still almost like a tension of Juke or Kanan could kill each other at any moment. So watching Raising Kanan and seeing how close they are, and it's kind of weird because if you guys seen the episode with me and my cousin Ayana, when I look at how they interact in Raising Kanan, some parts of it reminds me of how I interact with Ayana. But I can't imagine that me and Ayana would grow up the way that Kanan and Jukebox would be, to where these motherfuckers would like seem like they would kill each other. So that's the one thing that's interesting about Raising Kanan. You could see how, you know, his life was so different to what it is in the original Power. And I liked following the journey of, seeing Kanan become who he was. It's not like the original Power where we hear about ghost stories and stuff like that. It's not like book 2 where we see Tariq turn into that person. Kanan, we knew who he was, so now we're taking a trip back to see how he became that. And when you see where he is in the original Power compared to where Raising Kanan starts, it's almost like, damn, we're in for a very wild journey because everything that's in Raising Kanan, Kanan does not have in the original Power. So that's the one thing I really liked about the overall concept of Raising Kanan. But the reason it's my number one favorite show is, like I said, for one, the cast. I was afraid that I wasn't gonna like Kanan's uncle Marvin, but Marvin is easily like my favorite. He's probably like my overall favorite character on Raising Kanan, just because you see many layers to him. Like, I like what they did with him in season 1 with how, his daughter is Jukebox. Jukebox is, a lesbian. And they addressed how back in the day parents didn't like, their kids being gay and stuff like that. And what I like with Marvin's character, and like I said, I was afraid I wasn't going to like his character because of how he judged Jukebox with being lesbian, but how they addressed his character in this season, how he's learning to accept his daughter, how he's learning to control his anger and overall be a better person. I like what they're doing with his character. But the thing is, they do that while not also compromising how funny of a character he is. He still says his outlandish stuff. He's still about that action. He's still funny, but you can see him growing as a person. I also like Lulu because he's that cool, laid back character, but he also wants to get out of the game. And, it's also cool seeing how he's juggling his music business with the drug game, especially since I'm someone that really loves music, so it's kind of cool seeing that aspect integrated into the show. Then you got other characters like Jukebox, which if you watch the original Power, I can say the same thing that I said about Kanan earlier. If you seeing Jukebox at the beginning of Raising Kanan, to what she became in the original Power, it's almost like, damn, you really get to see everything that Jukebox goes through. And that's one of the big highlights with season 2. You see how Jukebox mom also affects her and makes her into the person that she is. So that's another aspect that I like. I also like Famous. You know, some people write him off as just a goofy comic relief, but I kind of like how slowly he's getting into the game. And I don't know if I believe people's theories that Famous is going to be Breeze, but I will say that I am enjoying seeing his character turn from someone that did not want to mess with the streets at all to someone that kind of is getting thrown into it just by being associated with Kanan. And then, you know, Kanan himself, I already explained why I liked his character, but I think the biggest highlight for me, and I think I speak for a lot of other people when I say this, is Kanan's mom, Rock. I love Rock's character because she stands on her business. She runs the game now. Yeah, she makes a lot of questionable decisions. She do be moving like a snake in the grass. And I mean, even this season, we find out that she was an informant. But the thing is, Rock is just too much of a savage character. Like, I love seeing Rock in the show. And one of my biggest criticisms with Power is I feel like a lot of the what some people will call the power queens, I feel like a lot of them ain't really shit. Like Tasha, I don't like Tasha. I don't like her at all. And one of the criticisms I used to give to Tasha is that she never really did anything. Like, she had other people handle her business for her. And I used to say that a lot before season 6. Okay, and spoiler alert, when season 6 happened and she finally did get her first kill, it was her own fucking best friend. She snaked out her fucking best friend. So that did not make me like her. Like, I like that she finally handled her own business, but your own best friend, that's some snake shit, dog. So yeah. And then seeing how she snitched on Tommy, and just like how Tommy said, she snitched on Tommy in book 2. And just like what Tommy says, she knows the game better than anybody. If you watch the original Power, Tasha, I will say, at least if I could give one positive to Tasha, while she didn't handle her business, at least morality of the streets, she followed the code. But that is until the very end of the show. And the thing is, Tommy gave her the chance to live just for her in book 2 to pin Ghost murder on Tommy. It's like, what the fuck is you doing? So, fuck Tasha. Monet. Now, I have a different problem with Monet. I feel like Monet does handle her business, but my problem is that they got Mary J. Blige to play her. I don't think Mary is a great actress. I'm sorry. Like, Mary, you make great music, but as an actress, I don't like you. I'm sorry, I don't like you. So I feel like they could have got another person to play to play Monet. But and then also, yeah, Monet does kind of get on my nerves a little bit because all she does is snap all the damn time. So yeah. So with Rock, that's one thing I feel like they really address with Power is, like, you know, as some people like to call them, the Power Queens. I feel like out of all of them, Raquel is my favorite because, yeah, she snaps, but you can see the thought behind her with it. She also handles her business, and yeah, like I said, she makes a lot of shady moves, but I mean, for someone that is technically, you know, the co-protagonist of the show, we kind of do need that, you know, divisive nature about her. And I mean, what's Power without divisive natured protagonists? Like, I think the only one that's not divisive is Tommy, but a character like Tommy can work without being, you know, a divisive protagonist. But Rock, yeah, I can understand the moves that she makes. I like how she handles business. And to be honest, you know, Patina Miller, the woman that plays Rock, out of every show that I've seen in the past few years, she is one of the best actresses on TV. Actually, I'll go out and say that she is the best actress I've seen on television within the past few years. So she needs her flowers. I hope she gets a lot more acting roles because of this. And I know she's not really ever going to listen to this podcast, but Patina Miller, if you are listening, keep putting up the good work because you're really doing your thing on that show. And wow, it's funny how I didn't even have like top 3 shows listed, but I made like a whole topic out of it. Um, the next one that I do have is my top 3 films of the year. And before I really start naming the films, I will say that this year, in my opinion, was a great year for movies. Like, even though I'm a very big film person, I appreciate all different types of films. I appreciate like blockbusters. I appreciate like artsy type films. I appreciate low budget movies that are so bad that they're good. There's a lot of films that I appreciate, but I will say that this year was a great year for films, in my opinion. And I had a lot of great movie going experiences this year. I would say one of my favorites was when me and my family was in Florida. We saw it was this one Liam Neeson movie. I actually liked it. I mean, it was a decent Liam Neeson movie, but it was cool. Um, you know, I guess I'll name some of my honorable mentions for the year. Halloween Ends. A lot of people hate it, but I liked it. Beast was another movie, the one with Idris Elba. I liked that movie a lot. Turning Red, I feel like it was a very big disservice that they sent that to Disney Plus, but I really liked that movie a lot. Um, Dang, if I had to, I guess one of the recent ones I can name, um, was Violent Night. That was one of my favorites of the year. Especially, I feel like that's a new Christmas movie I can watch every year. So, Violent Night. It's basically a Christmas version of John Wick. Like, if you wanted to see Santa whooping ass, just turn that movie on. And I guess the only other one is Smile, which I really like that movie. You know, that was a very weird movie going experience for me. I'm not gonna get into why it was weird for me, but it was weird, but it was also enjoyable. So I like Smile. Um, and I'll definitely say this was the year of horror movies. This was the year of horror movies. You had a lot of great horror movies come out this year. Like I said, Halloween Ends, Barbarian. That was another great one. Scream didn't come out this year. I don't remember if Scream came out. At the beginning of the year, X came out from A24. I didn't watch it, but I heard a lot of good reviews, so I do plan on watching it soon. The prequel to X also came out this year, Pearl, which is another movie I heard a lot of great things about. So yeah, I'll say that this year was definitely the year of horror. Now you guys are probably thinking there's 2 other horror movies, or if you want to, I don't know if my number one pick really counts as a horror, but I'm still gonna count it as a horror because this director is known for directing horror movies. But there's 2 other horror movies that I did not name this year, but I will get to those in my top 3. Now, before I say my top 3, I want to talk about the absolute worst movie I've seen this year. And I actually didn't remember it until I was just about to start recording this episode. Like, this movie was so bad. I literally wanted to get it out of my memory. I don't even remember most of the movie, but there's one part that I really do remember. So, okay. The movie is Men from A24. Me and my friend Al, we love A24. We love that company. With us wanting to be in film, we want to work with A24 someday. So that's like one of my biggest goals, is to try to work with A24. But I can't even lie. Now me, I'm someone that believes that every and anybody is going to have a dud. I don't care who you are. If you're a creative in any way, shape, or form, you are going to have a dud. I don't care. Kendrick Lamar, I consider technically his first album a dud, in my opinion. Not a lot of people love Section 80. To me, that's a dud. Kanye West, I talked about how he's a great artist. Yeezus was a dud to me. It was very influential, but as far as the quality of music, I consider it a dud. Filmmaking, I love Jordan Peele, but a lot of people consider Us a dud. Um, so in my opinion, like everybody and everything is going to have a dud. Like even someday I'm going to have one. So I know going into like film and music and all that, I know one day I'm gonna make something that a lot of people is not going to like. So I don't care who you are, I don't care what you do, you're going to make a dud someday. And A24 is like, I love A24 because every movie that I've seen from them has they've always, for the most part, been good. I will say the only movie besides Men that I don't like is Hereditary. But even with Hereditary, there's a lot that I can, appreciate with the movie. But Men is a movie that I cannot appreciate not one fucking bit. I'll say this, the only positive I can say about Men is the acting in the movie. That's the only positive I can give this movie at all. I did not like the story. I did not like the direction it went in. I do not like the ending. The ending was one of the most disturbing things I have ever seen in a movie, and I don't think that's something I'm ever going to get out of my mind. Like I told y'all when I first said this, I forgot majority of the movie. The movie is very forgettable, and now that I'm talking about it, I remember a lot more of it, but it's not like I want to remember it. But what I will say is that this movie has one of the weirdest and worst endings I've ever seen. And no, just because I said it's weird, something that I can't stand that people say is, "Oh, you just don't get it." I do fucking get the ending of this movie. I get why it was done. But that doesn't mean I have to like it. Just because you understand something doesn't mean you have to like it. And the ending of this movie was weird and I did not like it at all. I don't even want to describe what happens because I hope to one day have my channel monetized for YouTube. Now on streaming services, I can describe this ending all I want, but for YouTube's sake, I'm not going to describe the ending. All I'm going to tell you is just go watch the movie for yourself. That's the best thing I can say. Even if you don't want to sit there and watch the whole damn movie, at least go to the final fight scene, if you can consider it a fight scene. Go to the ending of this movie and just watch it. Just watch it. Because that's the best way that's the best way you'll understand why I say like the ending is like so fucking like, I'm not gonna lie, he had to be high to I forget the name of the director, but he had to be high when thinking of that. But yeah, so Men was easily the worst movie of the year, and that is crazy. That movie came out like right at the beginning of the year. I remember that. I think that was either my first or second movie going experience of the year. Like me and Al was so excited to see the movie, and it's surprising to even see Al did not like it. Like that is surprising if Al does not even like it. So, yeah, I'm surprised. That was like my first or second movie going experience of the year. And for that movie to be so bad that the rest of the year can't even compare to how bad that is, that movie, oh my God. Yeah. I heard a lot of great things about that director's other films, but don't ever make another movie like that again. Um, so my top 3 films of the year. Number 3, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. So what I really appreciate about Bodies, 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 and of course this is an A24 film, what I appreciate about this movie is, I'm going to bring up another movie that I didn't like a few years ago, and that was Knives Out. Knives Out, the reason I didn't like it, and I will say that one of my biggest problems with Knives Out was strictly due to expectation. I mean, overall, I really didn't like the film that much. I felt like it was very boring. But I'll say that I think my biggest problem with Knives Out is expectation. People was talking about this movie like it was revolutionary to the whodunit genre. A lot of people was talking about it like it was the next best thing in that genre. And I like whodunit type movies. I like mystery movies. I like seeing movies where, people die or like something bad happened and you have to figure out along with the characters who did it. I love movies like that. But Knives Out had such big expectations. It has an all-star cast. It had mad raving reviews talking about how different and how revolutionary this was to the genre. And me and two of my friends, I think it was like a group of like 6 to 7 of us, or maybe 5. No, yeah, it was 6 of us. This was when the movie first came out. Me, my roommates, and one of my roommates' girlfriends went to go see the film with us. And it was like 6 or 7 of us. And 3 of us knew who the killer was in like the first 15 to 20 minutes, I think. Yeah, I think it becomes very obvious who does it in the 15 to 20 minutes. And when we're talking about how we didn't really like the movie and like how it didn't live up to expectations, like everybody else was saying how they didn't see it coming and stuff like that, and there was a lot of great things to pull from the movie. And I don't know, I am a film guy, so maybe there was things, maybe my film brain just kind of picked it up along the way, but to me it was very obvious who did it. And one of the reasons why people call this like the game changing whodunit movie is because the person who was the killer didn't kill the person outright. They did something to where the person that died did it to themselves. But even with the person doing it to themselves, the killer still put it in place for him to do that. So it's like, even if the person did it to themselves, you still knew who was the cause of that person's death. So that doesn't make it any special to me just because he didn't do it himself, but he influenced someone to do it. Like that doesn't change anything. He's still the person that caused that person to die. So yeah, that wasn't pushing to me. Now, going back to Bodies, this was a whodunit movie where the twist and the reveal of the movie is either going to make or break the movie for you. And I think I said it before in an earlier episode. What they did with the ending, and when you find out who the killer is, that made me love the movie even more. I was like, this is how you do something new with a whodunit or slasher type movie. This is something different. This is something that I haven't seen before. Now, I mean, there's probably a bunch of other movies that I haven't seen where they did do something like this before, but this was the first movie where I ever seen something like this done. So I feel like this movie was something that pushed that genre of who did it or the slasher killer type movies. But like I said, the twist is either going to make you love or hate this movie very much. So I won't say this movie is for everybody because some people may feel like the movie wastes their time. Some people may find the movie annoying because it is also a commentary on my generation. And the funny thing is, I think I explained this story before, but when I went to go see the movie, it was me, my cousin, and our friend. I loved the movie for what it did. My cousin was very in between, but he said for the most part he enjoyed it. And my one friend hated the movie. But the funny thing is, he hated it for the purpose that they were going for. Like, one of the characters he found annoying. But my thing is, if you go into the movie knowing that it's supposed to be a commentary on our generation, I mean, even if you don't go in knowing, I think it becomes blatantly obvious when watching it that it's a commentary on our generation. He found one of the characters annoying, but it's like that was kind of their point. But then also the ending, he didn't like how the ending, like, he didn't like the twist at all, really. But the thing is, just like what I said earlier with Men, even if you understand it, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. So I can understand where he's coming from because I definitely felt like that with certain movies. Like, you can understand the intention but doesn't mean that you're going to like it. But I'm saying all this to say that the movie is very divisive for what it does. So for the most part, I do see a lot of people like the movie. So it is good to know that, for the most part, people like it. But I will say that it is a very divisive movie. And if you guys are ever looking for a slasher killer type movie, this is a fun one to watch. But I don't know how much fun you're going to have when you see that twist. That's all I'm going to say. Definitely will have you the twist will definitely make or break the movie for you. Like, I can easily see people watching most of the movie and having a 10 out of 10 experience, but then some people will probably watch the movie and either that 10 will go down to like a 1 or either it'll still stay as good. So that's my only warning. If you see bodies, be careful. If you guys don't want to see a twist, if you guys don't want to watch a movie where the movie could be made or broken for you due to its ending, steer clear of this movie. So number 2, I have Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And I feel like Wakanda Forever is a very special type of Marvel movie, especially since I feel like Wakanda Forever, in my opinion, is probably the most sad Marvel movie that's ever been released. Not even just because of Chadwick Boseman's death, RIP to him, but I feel like it's because of a lot of decisions that happen in the movie and the stuff that the character of Shuri goes through. There is so much that happens in this movie that can be considered, very sad. But not only do I like the movie because of how sad and emotional it is, but because it is sad and emotional, you get some of the best acting out of the MCU. Like I have been seeing people criticize this movie, but one thing you cannot criticize it on is the acting. I feel like this has been, if I had to rank Marvel movies in terms of just acting ability, this would easily have to be in my top 3 easily. Probably under Endgame and Infinity War. Like, this movie was really good. Like I said, I think the biggest compliment I can give it, besides the tone and the acting, is the character journeys of Shuri and Angela Bassett's character. I forget her name, but she's the queen. She plays T'Challa's mom. But I feel like the stories that they go through is the biggest thing I can give this movie. And also, I feel like the cinematography of this movie was better than the first Black Panther. See, I said this before, I think, or wait, no, I never said this on the podcast, or at least I don't think I have. A lot of people went into this movie automatically saying it's not going to be better than the first because of Chadwick Boseman. I don't believe that Chadwick Boseman was going to be a determining factor on whether this movie was going to be better or not, because my thing is, a lot of people don't like to say this, and this is no slight at Chadwick Boseman. A lot of people don't like to say this, but I remember when the first movie came out, there was a lot of people that I knew that said that he was the least interesting part of his movie. Everybody said that the side characters were a lot more interesting than he was. So when some people were saying that this movie has no chance of being better because he's not there, I kind of started questioning people, because it's like, you guys said the side characters were the best part. Now in this movie, it's nothing but the side characters. And, I believe there is a certain biasness that people is going into this movie. And I get it. It's a very emotional type of movie because our star, T'Challa, is not there. There is obviously going to be a sense of, something is missing because Chadwick Boseman's not there. But to me, that doesn't necessarily break the film. So I will say that I do think the first Black Panther is better than this one, but most of my reasons do not fall on Chadwick Boseman not being in the movie. It's for other reasons. Mostly my biggest reason is the runtime. I feel like there was things that they could have cut out, and I feel like there was certain things that were just in the movie just to set up future stuff for Marvel stuff. But for the most part, I really like this movie a lot, and I always told people if I was to give the original Black Panther like a 9 out of 10, this movie would have just got an 8.5. Like, this movie really isn't too much different or a fall from quality from the first movie. So I feel like in the grand scheme of Marvel movies, this one is at the very top of my list. I think I actually have it ranked in my top 5 Marvel movies. At least I think. I know it's up there with the original Black Panther and all the Spider-Man movies and Endgame and Infinity War. I know it's up there with them. But this movie is amazing, and I kind of see this movie almost like how I see Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. There's a lot of criticism going into this movie because, one, it's a Phase 4 movie, and two, because of Chadwick Boseman's absence. And I feel like people are judging it harshly because of those reasons. But I do feel like, as time goes on, people will start to appreciate the film because, if you look at it objectively, it is a really great film. So, yeah. And then number one, I don't think this should be a surprise, especially if you guys seen my first few episodes of the podcast. I think even if you see my episode with Elijah, Nope is number one. I've always said that Jordan Peele is my favorite director. And I liked how this movie, in my opinion, did something different with the alien genre. I'm not trying to spoil nothing in this episode, so if you want to watch Nope and you want to see the twist of the film, go ahead and watch it. But I like Nope a lot. And, besides Jordan Peele being one of my favorite directors, I will say that this was top-notch cinematography. This movie is like top-notch. The movie looks amazing. And especially since it looks amazing on any screen that you watch it on. Like, apparently the movie was filmed in IMAX, and a lot of people recommend that you watch it in IMAX. I never got the chance to watch it that way, but every way that I've watched it, whether it was on a regular movie theater screen, if you guys go to Cinemark, they offer Cinemark XD. I watched it the first time through that, and then even my TV at home, I also watched a little bit of it at my brother's apartment on his TV. And it's like, no matter where you watch it at, the movie looks amazing. So, cinematography is up there. Directing's up there. I would also say the biggest selling point is Keke Palmer and Daniel Kaluuya's performances in this movie, because I feel like out of any movie that I've seen with siblings involved, this is like one of the most realistic portrayals of siblings, in my opinion. And, I feel like their bond in the movie is what pushed the movie even more for me. So yeah, Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer definitely did their thing. The directing was on point. The story, I love the twist of how it did its own thing with the alien genre. So yeah, easily Nope was my number one. Like I said, if you guys been listening to my podcast, and I think it was pretty obvious that was going to be my favorite movie of the year. But yeah, 2022 overall, I would say, was a great year for entertainment. Like I named throughout this episode, music was good, TV was good, movies was especially great, especially the horror genre. I don't know if 2023 is going to keep up with the great horror movies, but there's a lot of great movies, or a lot of movies that look good that I'm looking forward to. Some at the top of my head that's supposed to come out next year. Me and my cousin definitely want to see Megan. I think my number one most anticipated movie next year is definitely Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And then, damn, I know there is another movie that I'm really looking forward to. Oh, Cabin in the Woods. No, it's not called Cabin in the Woods, but it's the new M. Night Shyamalan movie about a family that's, staying at a cabin in the woods. So, yeah, I've been seeing a lot of commercials and trailers for movies that's supposed to come out next year, and they looking good. So I think 2023 is going to keep up with, the good year for movies. I will say this. The 2020 decade has not been good for me personally, but I will say in terms of films, I've been seeing some of the best films ever. like some of the movies that I've seen in the 2020 decade has become some of my favorite films of all time. Like Nope has become one of my favorite films of all time. Promising Young Woman, that I think came out like early 2020 or early 2021. I forget exactly when it came out, but Promising Young Woman was another one that I would consider one of my favorite movies of all time. So I do think that 2023 is going to keep up with, the great movies and stuff like that. So, all right. The main attraction, the main thing that y'all came to see, the main thing that's on this screen right now. So, I'm going to go through my 2022 pictures, or the picture that I made of different pictures from 2022. I'll go over the memories behind them. I'll go over why I picked them, which I mean, the memories will explain why I picked them. And I guess, well, I already said how I felt overall about 2022, or shoot, I forgot if I did at this point. I've been recording for so long, but yeah, I guess I'll give a quick review of how I feel about 2022, and I'll go over through these pictures and whatever. So, I so if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll just insert like the regular picture on the screen. I'll put it over the title so that you guys can get a good look of it. If you guys are on streaming services, I can't really help you out. The best I can say is go to my social media. I think it's, as of me uploading this episode, that should be the last picture on my account. So you guys can go there and check it out. But all right, let's get into it. So the first picture that I want to talk about, and it's the top left picture. In the picture, it's me wearing a black sweatshirt that says "Raise Your Game," just so y'all know which one I'm talking about. So, okay. In that picture, it was me, my brother Cyrus, my brother Steve, my grandma, and my cousin TC. Well, we call him TC, but yeah, we just took a picture for Thanksgiving. So, Thanksgiving, it's always a special time. As y'all can see, we got Trouble right there, and Trouble is Trouble is almost like a tradition whenever we go to my grandmom's house. Like, whenever we go over there, it's impossible to leave without at least playing one game of Trouble. So that one, also we play Uno a lot too, but Trouble seems to be the main one that we get into. The picture under that is me, my cousin Sinir. He was in the American Dream vlog, if you guys watch my YouTube. But yeah, my cousin Sinir. And then next to us is my friend Al. This picture was actually taken the night before my my graduation ceremony. I think I explained it before, but because I was graduating this fall, and my school doesn't do fall graduation ceremonies, so they allow people that's graduating in the fall to walk during the spring semester's ceremony. And this picture was taken like literally the night before. We didn't go out because of that. We just went out because we just all wanted to chill with each other. So it was me, Sinir, Al, my friend Joe. Joe was the one that took the picture. But yeah, that was just us simply hanging out in Philly the day before the graduation. Under that is an AI photo of me. As you guys know, recently there's been a trend with people making AI pictures of themselves using the Lensa app. And at first I wasn't trying to do it, but I seen so many people do it, and I was like, I don't really rock with trends, but this is a trend that I'll get with. I'll check it out. I paid up my money, and I would say a lot of the AI photos of me came out really well. So if you guys want to see more of the other photos, then go to my Instagram. You already know what it is, Tevin.Jameer. And yeah, I uploaded the other AI photos if y'all want to see it. Okay, so now get into the middle row. The middle row got 4 photos. The top one is me holding a bunch of ones. Yeah. This summer, my family gave me a graduation party, and I don't want to get into the story of the graduation party because, my family don't like how I felt about it. But as far as the things that I received from people, especially that money, oh yeah, That one I was all on board for. But if y'all want to know a quick funny story with the money, so I took this picture before, I deposited it into my bank account. And one thing my mom makes is like she likes to make like fake cakes for like special occasions and whatever. Like when I was younger and my aunt was having a baby, she made like a fake cake out of like rolled up diapers and stuff like that. So what she did was this time for my graduation, she made like a fake cake out of money, and it was all ones. Now, here's the thing, she taped all the ones together around the boxes, and she taped like basically everything was taped together, and it was literally all ones. So me even receiving my own money was a process, because I spent most of my night coming back from the party. Once I got back from the party, I spent most of my night trying to cut all the individual ones out of the tape and then off the cake. And then after that, I had to rip off the tape because, if I left the tape on, I didn't know if the ATM was going to take it. So, okay, I finally take all the ones off the cake. After that, I was like, all right, later in the day, I'm going to go deposit it. I am a black man showing up with, I forget how many ones it was. I think like 500 ones. I am a black man showing up with 500 ones to a bank to deposit it in my ATM. People was looking at me like I was a damn drug dealer. Like I was getting so many looks that I was like, you know what? I'll just deposit half now and then I'll wait later in the day to deposit the rest. So, okay. I did the first half. I was like, all right, I'll wait till later when less people is there to deposit the rest. I go back to deposit the rest and barely anybody's there. But there was one woman who saw me walk in and start depositing the money. And like she was circling around the building. She circled around the building twice because I guess she thought I was being suspicious. Man, as soon as I deposited all that money, I ran straight to my car. I was like, look, I ain't about to get locked up because somebody think I'm a damn drug dealer. So I told my mom about that. I told her never do that again. If like there's an opportunity where she could do that again, I was just like, maybe, and mom, I know you're listening, so take this into consideration. If you want to do another money cake, a lot of people buy fake money, and then just put the real one inside the cake. Like you don't have to, use real money because, take this story as an example. People will look at me crazy like I'm some type of drug dealer. So mom, don't do that to me. The two in the middle is from my graduation ceremony day. The one on the left is, just simply me taking a picture in front of like this rowing thing. They had, before you went up on stage to, get your diploma. Oh, wait. No, this was after. Yeah. Once you walked off stage, they took a picture of you against this backdrop and whatever. That's the picture that you can see on the left. Me holding my diploma up in front of the backdrop. The cool thing is, and I feel like I said this before in an early episode, but I was in an honor society in my school. That's the sash that you see me wearing. Also, the tassels that you see me wearing. Now, the red is just simply because of your GPA, but the gold and the brown, I don't know if you can see the brown, but around the red tassel is a gold and brown, and that's also going along with my, what's it called? That also goes along with my honor society. So really, y'all know I was representing my honor society wearing all that. And then the picture to the right is my niece, okay? I need to explain this because one of my friends' moms saw the picture and they thought it was my daughter. No, that is my niece. So yeah, I just simply wanted to have a picture of me and my niece right there in the photo. And then the bottom picture in the middle row is me and my friends at my graduation party. My mom rented us out a limo, which in my opinion was the best part of the day. Me and my friends had a limo, we had food, drinks. We went to Atlantic City for a little bit before the party. as you all can see, my friend Joe, if you remember him from some of my vlogs on YouTube, Simir, Al, me in the middle, right next to me, I think, yeah, to my left, that's, well, it's the right to y'all, but it's to my left in the picture. My friend Anthony, my cousin Chris, and then my other friend Jalen all the way at the end. So Mikey was also there too, if you guys remember him from my other vlogs. Mikey was there too, but for some reason he wasn't around when we took that picture. But yeah, that was another memory that I had basically from the party. Like I said, very controversial opinion on the party, but you know, there was stuff to appreciate there. Then we go to the last row at the very top. You know, it's me, my sister, and my brother. Basically, it was just the three of us, and they wanted to have, you know, my nieces and nephews in the picture there. I guess almost kind of like a generations type of picture and whatever. So, yeah, it was just a special photo because it's me and my siblings and me, my nephews, and my niece. Then the middle one is another picture from my graduation. And that picture, of course, my siblings, like I stated before in the other photos. But the two women next to me are my grandmoms, which it's a very special thing to me that both my grandmoms are alive to see me graduate college because, you know, both my pop-pops ain't here. One died before I was born and the other one died when I was younger. So it was a very special occasion, you know, very special thing to everybody that both my grandmoms were able to be there for that special occasion for me. And then the last photo all the way at the bottom of the right column is when me and my family was out in Florida. I referenced this in my episode with Ayana where we went to Florida for my cousin's wedding. This was a picture that we took on the very last day, and I would say this is the best family photo we have. And the funny story is the person that took the picture, it was like some random person we asked to take the picture, and he said, pretend like y'all like each other. And yeah, like I said, him saying that made the best photo we've all ever taken together. So yeah, that's something. But yeah, a lot of these moments, now I will say, as far as like special moments, like 2022 wasn't too crazy. I would say a lot of my more special moments from this year was school related, as y'all can see in the picture. Like a lot of them had to do with my graduation and stuff. I was also inducted into the Honor Society this year. So, you know, becoming part of an honor society that I'm always going to be a part of, you know, graduating and, you know, like I said, there's a lot of special things around that graduation, especially like how both my grandmoms were here to see me graduate. My dad told me that I'm the first male on his side of the family to graduate from a university. That seems to be like a up in the air type of thing. Like some days I am, some days supposedly I'm not. So I mean, that might be a special thing to me graduating as well. But either way, it's a special thing that I graduated, especially since one of the things that I like, that I hope that I've done with me graduating is that, you know, I got a lot of nieces and nephews. I got a lot of younger cousins. I got a lot of younger family members. I hope they look to me and see, like, you know, it's possible having success, you know, getting your education and stuff like that. I hope they look to me and see that it is possible. So, you know, me graduating is a very special thing, not just only for me, but also for my family. I would say that's the biggest thing from this year. And if I had to say like a overall, like quick thoughts for 2020, I guess you could say, like I said, I think I said it before, it was a decent year. I will say that it could have been better, but for the most part, this has been the best year of the 2020s decade so far. And I think I said this earlier, if I had to give this year a rating, 5.5, maybe a 6. This year wasn't too bad, but I mean, compared to the last few years, this year was amazing. So, okay, enough of 2022. You guys are probably asking, and as I stated before earlier in the episode, what is my goals for next year? So to keep it sweet and simple, I have 5 goals that I want to tell y'all. The first goal is, I told y'all before, or if you guys seen my YouTube channel and you guys watch my vlogs, excuse me and my friends like to do a trip every 2 years. 2 years ago, we went to Baltimore. This year, we chilled out. We ain't go on a trip. Next summer, we're supposed to go to Miami. And I've actually been to Miami one time, but it's not like I was actually there, like staying there. Me and my family was going on a cruise, and the docking area was in Miami. So we stayed at a hotel close to Miami, but we weren't in it. And my uncle, he rented a car and he wanted to walk Miami, but it was nighttime, and you know how it is at night out there. So we ain't really get anywhere to park, and we were just like, we at least we got to look around while he was driving. So we just went back, but I never really got to explore Miami. But when me and my friends go this summer, I really want to explore there. I think I've said it before that I love Florida, so I can't wait to go back out there. So going to Miami and having a good trip with the boys is going to be one of my goals. I guess my second goal is more success with the podcast. Me taking these breaks, like these 1 to 2 week breaks, I don't know how well that's going to affect, me and the algorithm. I know very much that consistency is a big thing for the algorithm. I don't know how me doing these breaks sometimes and abruptly is going to affect that, but that is something I'm going to work on. I'm going to work on being more consistent with the podcast, but really, I just want more success with it. I'm already seeing a lot of success, as I stated before in other episodes. I appreciate everybody that signs in and that gives me their time, because, the last time I did a podcast, the I Hate It Here podcast with my friends, I didn't think people would like long form content, but me doing this podcast and me seeing like more people watching, listening, and subbing and following my stuff from me doing this podcast shows me that, people do like that long form content. And I never thought people would like long form content from me. I never thought people would like hearing me talk for a long time, but, the numbers don't lie. And I mean, ever since I started doing this podcast, my numbers have been going up a lot more than when I was doing other stuff. So yeah, the numbers do not lie. So I'm already seeing what I would consider success with the podcast, but I like to gain more in 2023. I like to work even harder and, give y'all more of this good content. The next one is, I guess I could say like live life more, because that's one thing that I have been thinking about recently. It is a big deal. And I said this in the episode with Ayana. It is a big deal that, you reach your success, that you go after the things that you want to go after. Like, I got no problem with how I plan to move with my film stuff. Like, I've heard a lot of the same things going through film school. I heard a lot of the same things: make connections, just keep creating content. I've always heard that, and I feel very positive and confident that, I'm gonna make it someday as a director. That's not what I'm worried about. When I say live more life, I want to have more experiences. I want to travel. I want to learn more, maybe about different cultures. Last year I found out that I was part Jamaican, and I really don't know too much about Jamaican culture, so I like to do that. I want to do ancestry so I can look back at my family tree, like stuff like that. Travel, learn more about my culture, learn more about other cultures. Like, I just want to do so much. So just live life more, especially since this is going to be my first year out of college. Like, I'm no longer a college student. So all it is life at this point. And I want to make the best of it. I want to, like I said before to y'all on here, I want to look back and know that I had a bunch of experiences in life. So I guess this is also, I guess 2023 will also be the start of my journey of just doing more outside of work and stuff like that, doing more with just life. Um, the other one, and this is like a big one for me, is losing weight. Throughout my whole life, I have fluctuated with my weight like crazy. Like one point I was skinny as a twig. Another point I'm big as hell. Another point, I'm at a decent, weight. Then for the past 2 years, I've actually gained weight, but for the past year since I've been working out, I lost some of that weight. So it's like my weight has always fluctuated throughout my whole life. But with 2023, I hope to lose a lot of that weight and I hope to maintain my good weight balance. So that is really a big one for me. And that seems to have been a lifelong goal for me. But with 2023, I want to, grind it out and like, really get to that good weight level for me. So, maybe I could do vlogs like, maybe going to the gym and I can take y'all along with me and whatever. But yeah. And then the very last one, and I saved this one for, even though it's the first on my notes, I saved this one to say as the last because I feel like this is going to be like the biggest thing for me. And my last goal is to make a short film. Now, I've had this short film idea for like the past 2 to 3 years. My boy Al already says that, he wants to be involved in it. My one cousin who, is also in the film and he actually studied at NYU, he wants to get involved in it. My cousin Chris, I got a role for him in the film. This film, I will say this. Last year, I took a screenwriting class, and out of all the kids in my class, I would say that I've heard the loudest claps and the most claps with my screenplay. Now, of course, if you guys, make films, if you guys know about films, you know that, trying to go over the script and make it better, that's a never ending process. But from the stance that I am at with the story right now, people really love the film. People really like what they read. So I am very confident that this movie is going to be good. So not just only that, I know that I have something good that people want to, see come to life, but also like I said, I've always wanted to be a director. And up to this point, I've really only directed my friends in like small videos, like very small videos, or even videos for my class, like never really a serious short film. So this is going to be my first time, seriously being a director. Like I'm really trying to show people my skill with this. So not only is this going to be a story that I'm finally going to bring to the world, which when I'm going to upload the short film onto my YouTube, and I'm going to try to work on getting it on like streaming services and stuff like that. Apparently it's very easy to get your short films on Amazon and stuff like Tubi or whatever, but I'm going to upload it on here. And surprisingly, I'm surprised no one has ever made this into a film. So I'm going to present a story that not many people has ever really thought of, apparently. So I'm going to give y'all a unique story. This is going to be my first time, really trying to show y'all my skill with directing. We haven't really got too much into casting or anything like that yet. Like I said, I'm trying to perfect the script as much as I can before we really get into it. But one thing I really hope to do is hopefully try to have like an all black cast in the movie. I've envision the characters in my head being all black, but I'm not like no big director, so I'm gonna take whatever I can get. But just know that I aim to try to have an all black cast, because I said it before in past episodes, I'm all about trying to tell unique black stories. So yeah, that was about it with all the topics for this episode. Man, it's crazy. This is the last episode of 2022. I guess the next episode you guys should expect from me, just so I don't blindside y'all if I do wind up taking a break,
I guess the next episode y'all should expect one from me is January 10th. That's the next episode you guys should expect from me. And wow, like I said, this is crazy. The very last episode of 2022. And within this short period of me already doing this podcast, this podcast has already done a bunch of great things for me. I've gained a bunch of subs. I gained a bunch of followers. I've had, people really like tap in with me to work with me on this podcast. So every guest that I had thus far, Chris is going to be up soon, but Josh, Corey, my cousin Ayana, Al, DZ, everybody that I had on the podcast up to this point, I want to thank y'all because, even though this is my podcast, me getting people with interesting backgrounds, me getting people with interesting careers, building dialogue with people, that's the main thing I've really wanted to do with this podcast, is just build dialogue with people. And like I said, hate it or love it, either way, we're going to sit down, we're going to talk, we're going to, understand where each other is coming from. So I like to thank all the guests that I've had thus far. I already, for some reason, after my episode with DZ, people was really trying to tap in with me on guest starring on here. So I have at least a month and a half planned of guests for the next year. So y'all going to get some good content out of this show. But yeah, like I said, thank you to everybody that's been listening consistently to the podcast, all the fans. Thank you to everybody that, guest starred and, worked with me on this. And I can't really appreciate you guys enough. Like, I really cannot thank you guys enough for everything y'all have been doing, because like I said, I never expected people to want to listen to me long term for like an hour and a half or anything like that. And I never, like I said before, a lot of people said that I was good with my voice, good with radio and stuff like that. And, but I never expected, people to rock with it this much. So like I said, I can't thank y'all enough, but thank you for everything y'all have done for me thus far. And with all that being said, happy holidays. Even though Christmas passed, happy holidays. Have a great New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. I hope everybody listening also has a great 2023. And with all that being said, Tevin Jameer signing out. See y'all next year.